channel. Everyone's having a great day today. In today's video, we're going to be talking about, well, the truck, as usual. I mean, what else will we talk about on the channel that just happens to be outside in this driveway? But today, we're going to talk about the truck. And today's video, we're actually talking specifically about when buying an XLS trim makes sense. The pros and cons, if you will. And at the end of the video, for all you XLT guys are going to be watching, because I know there's probably a lot more of you guys with XLTs than there are guys like me who have an XLS. I'll save you guys to the end of the video because I've got a little proposition that I think will work out pretty good for not only myself, but some of you guys and other content creators even. So let's get started. So the pros and cons of owning an XLS trim. Now, for those who are new to the channel, I've owned this truck for 4 years. I got it when I was 16. I'm close to turning 21 later this year. And I've loved it. It's been great. It's a 2003 XLS. Now for 2001 and 2002, there were 2 trim levels available with some special editions. There's the XL and the XLT. It's a little windy out, so I'm gonna try to shield the mic. Probably won't go out there too much with all this wind. But there was 2 trims, the XL and the XLT. And then for 2003 to 2005, there was the XLS, which replaced the XL, the XLT, and then the Adrenaline, which was a full, like a crazy package that had custom embroideries and better bumper kits, because these trucks, the XLSs, and I believe some XLTs, I believe the XLT could get it optioned with the color match, have this gray cladding, like mine has. So let's talk about the first pro of getting an XLS trim truck. Now, they're gonna be cheaper. Now, the majority of the trucks you see online that are for sale for about $3 grand, which is what we picked this one up for, is usually an XLS trim. If you guys haven't seen the video where I went through some of the differences, not the greatest video I did, but some of the differences between the XLS and the XLT, you know that XLSs didn't have as much features as I'll go through here in a minute, and therefore makes them cheaper, a little bit easier to get a hold of, and the majority of the trucks you see for under $4 grand are going to be XLS trucks. The other pro that I'm going to think of here is the XLS trim is, so far to my knowledge, the only trim of the Sport Trac available with a 5-speed manual. And that's right, for those who didn't know, the Gen 1 Sport Tracs were available with the stick shift. It was the M50D transmission out of the Mazda B series and the Ford Ranger around that same time period, because these trucks are chassis mates with that generation of the Ranger. We did a video dedicated to that, me and Hayden's Ranger from the same model year, 2003, and we went through all the differences between the 2 trucks. And that's right, the XLS was the only way so far that I've been able to see that's been available with a manual transmission. And one way to tell that is to come through to the center console. This truck being a XLS, usually has the bag console here, which is usually just an armrest with a zipping bag underneath it, and that's all you get. You get like maybe 1 or 2 cup holders at most. I've actually swapped in a console out of a 2001 Explorer. Other little variations that show XLSs, there's not a roof console right here, there's no sunroof, there's no cruise control, which is a huge thing for me. That's the one thing I've always complained about this truck doesn't actually have. The next thing you'll notice about the XLS is that, well, there's a lot bit more personalization you can do. A lot of people like me like these lower trim trucks because not only are they cheaper to get a hold of, they tend to not have a lot of features, so you're able to add modernization touches that you want. For example, push button start on this one, because this one didn't have keyless entry on it. So we did a full push button start conversion to the remote start, which I'm not going to demonstrate because I don't want to deafen everyone in the neighborhood right now. You guys don't know this truck's a full bolt-ons with a really loud exhaust now. So it makes it, able to have a bit more personalization. You're able to add stuff in the interior that these trucks usually don't have, and then even stuff the XLTs don't come with. I've seen people try to swap the information center into the older Explorers into here, which are pretty hard to find nowadays. That's originally what I was going to do with this one, so I could have like, a little display that tells me my miles per gallon and all that stuff, which I know is awful because of how I drive. So it gives you just a bit more opportunity for personalization. Now, obviously, the XLT is going to come with more features out of the box, like the roof box and the sunroof and all that good stuff. But, and the factory sub. Sometimes the XLTs had factory subs in them. Some XLSs probably got them too, because I believe that was an actual factory option. It wasn't something that was delegated to like a standard equipment type deal. I may be wrong there. I know the Adrenaline probably got it standard. But the XLS, on the other hand, didn't really get a whole lot in terms of features. So there's a lot of personalization you can do, stuff you can add to it to give it your own flair. Custom cruise control systems. I've seen a few people working on that right now. They're adding cruise control to an XLS. Custom center console work, like mine, for example, was pretty basic. I literally just pulled one out of an 01 Explorer, just because it's interchangeable. 95 to 1 Explorer parts have tons of little places where things are completely interchangeable. So let's talk about cons. So the first con is going to be related to the last Pro, which is there's not a lot of features out of the box. As I just pointed out, it doesn't have cruise control, which for someone like me who wants to go on road trips and stuff like that, it makes it really hard for me to want to take this out on something like a road trip to Florida. I live in Georgia, for those who don't know. So going to Florida, being a 6 to 8 hour drive, depending on what part of Florida I go to, or if not more than that in some cases, makes it kind of hard for me to want to take this down because of no cruise control. I don't want to have my right foot aching the entire time because I'm going to have to hold the gas down while we're going. Obviously, that can be remedied by illegally breaking the speed limit and getting there in 5 hours, like my dad did back in the 90s when he went to West Virginia with a Fox Body Mustang. My mom's old 2.3, 80-something horsepower Mustang. I mean, it's something a lot of people could get over. I myself have gotten over it over the years. I've kind of learned to, get over it and just use my right foot to drive. That's what it's there for. The next thing is you're going to be missing out on a lot of just nice things. Obviously with the features you're missing, you're not gonna have the roof box, you're not gonna have the sunroof, you're not gonna have the factory sub if you're an audiophile. You're not gonna have as nice a speaker system in the truck. You're not gonna have as nice a radio. I mean, there's just so many things that are just completely just thrown away. You don't even get power mirrors with the XLS. So like I said, these are really good for people who just want to get a cheap sport track and want to get into the game for cheap. It's a great way to do it. It's just, you're gonna be missing out on a lot. So the next thing is, a con of sorts, is when you get one of these XLSs, the majority of them that are cheap are going to have a crap ton of miles. This one is not an exception to that. When I first got this truck, I had 213,000 miles. We're up to 241,000 now. So I've put a lot of time and a lot of driving into this truck over the years. I mean, for 4 years, it doesn't seem like a lot, having only put 30,000 miles or so on it. Not even 30,000 yet. So, I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but for me, it's a lot. So obviously that's going to have, its drawbacks. It's going to require more maintenance. XLSs weren't really taken care of by their previous owners. It's usually the higher trims like the XLT and the Adrenaline that people actually took care of. And this one was no exception. I mean, it's still not in the greatest condition mechanically from the previous owner's treatment of this thing. And I've had to kind of pick up the slack a little bit. But it's not perfect, but it's good enough for me. So that's really some of the only cons I could think of for buying an XLS over an XLT, is just missing out on all the features and the likelihood that you're going to get one that's a lot less care taken into it. Obviously, if you get a manual truck, you'll probably be in a little bit better off, because not a lot of people had those. Those are kind of hard to find. So if you have a manual XLS, I'm going to bet it'll probably be in a little bit better condition than like an automatic XLS like mine is, where they were just used A to B, no one really cared, and just let them rot. And then the next guy who's actually enthusiast, like people who are watching this video, are having to kind of pick up the slack and take care of it themselves. So I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap things up here. So I talked earlier in the beginning of the video about XLT guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend kind of a shout out to fellow Sport Track YouTuber Monday86 and have him see if he can do a video on pros and cons of owning an XLT. That way, because I don't own one, I don't have any friends that own any XLT trucks. All my friends have cars. So that's why I'm trying to throw a bone here to Monday86 to see what he thinks of the XLT trims of the trucks, and what he thinks of the pros of getting an XLT and the cons of getting an XLT, and kind of comparing it to the XLS and seeing which one of you guys that have sport tracks, which one is right for you. If you want to get the base model, you want to get the XLT, you want to get the Adrenaline, or maybe one of the special editions. Like, I forget one of the special editions I've seen of the Gen 1. It was like some sort of Outfitters edition or something like that. It was like for off-roading. But yeah, so that'll do it, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video on the pros and cons of owning a XLS trim sport track, not an XLT or Adrenaline. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you guys on Monday.